Your observations on the game?
The right result. Teams like Alfreton that do what Alfreton do, that are very, very good at what they do, have been our kryptonite for a period of time. And you've seen when opposition with really physical centre forwards can hurt us at set plays. So a game like that can happen against Alfreton when the game's been settled by two set plays. A throw-in, we've talked about, watched on a clip, that it might come shorter in the feet, come back, and you have to deal with the second phase, and then a free header in the 6-yard box from a free kick. I think the biggest source of disappointment and anger is that we've not asserted ourselves on what was a must-win game for us. So there's a reason why you lose the game. But we haven't scored again at home. We haven't looked like scoring for me in the last hour of the game. I thought we started quite well, and within intensity we had opportunities, and then I just think we absolutely fizzled out, and that's probably the biggest thing. There'll be loads of questions, and now's the time to ask them. My mentality is this: we have 3 games remaining that we're going to need maximum points from to have half an opportunity to get in the playoffs, and we have to focus on them, and we have to do everything we can to get those 9 points. The reason we're in the position we're in isn't because of days like today in isolation. It isn't because we lose to South Shields, a full-time side, 2 weeks ago. I spoke to the players in November around a wastefulness of opportunities. Now, if you want, you can take that as opportunities in front of goal, or you can take it as opportunities to put points on the board. But you look at some of the results against sides at the bottom end of the league, some of the ways in which we've dropped points. What 4 to 6 more points might have done for us in the current situation is massive, and I felt that in November. So very disappointed with today in isolation as a performance. Yeah, very disappointed for a failure to assert ourselves on it, and a weakness to defend it. Alfreton are what they are, and they're very, very good at it, and it's why, if they're in the playoffs, they would be my tip to win the playoffs because of the way that they manage those situations. But over the course of the season, we've put ourselves in a situation, certainly in the calendar year, where we were going to rely on what was a really tough end of the season, fixture-wise, and we've put ourselves in a situation where if we fell short, we were going to have some real high-pressure games, and we haven't dealt with that today.
Were you disappointed with the way the 2 goals went in? I'm thinking more of the marking.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you play Alfreton, and there's 2 sides to it, there is... let's talk about us first. And I understand that I must feel like you're being really polite with the line of questioning, and I borderline appreciate that. Our performances at home this season have improved from last season in terms of points. I don't feel that. I don't feel like we're particularly better at home. I don't think our home form is good enough. So I'm almost begging you to take me at face value, both in terms of the questioning and anyone that's receiving what I'm saying. We are a point away from having the most points at home since Neil Young won this division with a record amount of points. But I don't think we've been good enough at home, and I think the manner of some of the performances, and we recognise that, and we've done a lot. So we've played with 2 centre forwards for probably 2/3 of the games. We've then, like what we did on Friday, and we started that way today, we've tried to be really brave with attacking players, and we played a back 3, and I think we abandoned that slightly early in the year too easily. So then we did that at Buxton, we went with that back 3 with those wing backs, with a lot of forward players on the pitch. And even today, I thought we were fizzling out in the first half. We've changed at half time. We've finished the game. We finished the last half an hour of the game with 5 or 6 forward players on. Whether we've played 4-4-2, 4-diamond-2, 3-5-2, 3-4-3, no matter what we've played, we haven't scored enough goals during the season, but particularly at home. And that has been a theme, and it's something that's got to change. Now, it needs to change sooner rather than later, but it's been the same for a period of time. And I'm here now and I'm responsible, but it was the same the season before, the home form. We've got to find a way of being better. So for me, it isn't as simple as it's tactical. I think it's personnel and mentality, and your home games. We should be putting as a minimum 45 points on at home. Absolutely.
You talk about personnel. I'm not asking you to name names, but I mean, there seems to be the lack of a presence up front. I meant that point to you after the Southport game, in fact.
Yeah, I never criticise individuals in this forum, and I'm big on that you need to remember the level of football we're at, that this football club is a massive football club, and it's a football club that I've got a lot of respect for, and that I've done my best for over a period of time. I would reflect and rewind 12 months ago. I think there's a lot, and maybe it's at the end of the season, maybe it's now we have that conversation, that a lot of what we've done, and when it's what we've done, it's I've done, hasn't worked. But I don't think it's as simple as shapes and formations. I think we started the season really poorly with a hangover of losing a playoff semi-final, and I don't think we ever got going, bar from an October-November period where we put some decent results on. Too many draws and too many nils at home. How many games have we lost? I think that's the second game we've lost in my time here by more than one goal, but how many home games have we lost 1-0? I think what has been alarming for me in the calendar year is how little we look like getting back into those home games. I'm telling you, on Friday at Buxton, when Buxton scored, I went, here we go, we're still going to score 3. I think our away performances were really poor at the start of the season, have improved in the second half of the year, and in the calendar year, you look at, we scored 2 at Farsley, 2 at Scunthorpe. Some of those draws at Tamworth and Hereford are decent points. But rewind, I remember talking, and by the way, having a lot of criticism for how disappointed I was after the Alfreton away game with a draw, because I felt we were turning down opportunities to put points on, that we were going to have a really difficult end to the season. I think when you talk about the presence up front, it's been a lot of the stuff that I had hoped to be really effective for us last June, July time hasn't played out the way we wanted, and I need to take responsibility for that, and I'm not going to name names and individuals. And the biggest difference in the 2 seasons in my time here, and it isn't fair for me to criticise what goes before, and I always want to be really, really careful to make those comparisons of, it's not me being mad about statistics, they're just facts. This is how many points we got from this amount of games. I haven't had the impact on the home games that I would have liked, and I think there's loads of reasons why. We've improved away. I think we need to make sure we've got personalities that can deal with playing in front of a 2,500 crowdish today, over 2,000 regularly. We need to make sure we can deal with that, because that needs to be our biggest weapon. That needs to be something that is a real asset to us, and we have to find a way that, and it isn't, let's not be one of them people that thinks it's because we've moved the goals in a couple of metres at either end. Been told we narrowed the pitch when we haven't. I get there's a bit of nonsense to it, and it seems to have followed me around over the last 18 months. But our home return isn't good enough. So I think the position that we're in, and I stand by it, and I'm going to keep saying it, we need to try and win the next 3 games and see where it takes us. But for the first time, it's really out of our hands. It's really out of our control. I won't give up. I'd be offended by the suggesting that, because for those that have known me a period of time, you know my personality. That isn't because I'm from Chester. I've said it before. I was the same in my previous job, and I'll be the same in whatever comes next. It's absolutely imperative that we do everything to win those 3 games. But if we miss out on the playoffs, we aren't going to miss out on the playoffs because we were beaten at home by Alfreton and at home by South Shields. Much they're the immediate games, and they became must-win games. It is over the course of the season we'd have fallen short, and we'd have been really wasteful with opportunities to put points on the board. So it'll hurt. I also think there needs to be really honest conversations around where we should be and where we've fallen short. The aim for this football club, I've said, has got to be to get promoted. Don't misquote me on that. We need to get promoted. The most realistic means of us doing that is in the playoffs. And on what we're able to do, that isn't necessarily at the top end of the playoff places. We're probably in the right conversation that we're in.
Well, as Kidderminster proved last year.
Yeah, and I look at, you've got to remember there's some full-time sides in this division that they aren't. I can imagine you can be sitting at home thinking I'm making excuses. No, I said it on day one, we need to try and get promoted. But a lot has to go right for us with the way that we do it, and a lot has gone wrong. Some will be of my doing, some will be of other individuals doing, and some will be stuff outside of our control. But the reality for me is too many points dropped over the course of the season. At the start of the season, away from home without scoring. At the back end of the season, at home without scoring. Common theme, in answer to your question, a really long-winded answer, and I apologise for that, is not enough goals. The ball hasn't been put in the net, and there's been reasons for that along the way, but it certainly will be the story of the season, whether we get in the playoffs or not.
You obviously are going to, whether you're in the playoffs or not in the playoffs, you're going to be having discussions about budgets, about players, in 2-3 weeks' time, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely, and that isn't for now. The focus has got to be on those 3 games, and I really repeat that, and that's where I think it's really important that certainly with the model of the football club and the way the football club is resourced, etc., it's important that you give as much transparency as you possibly can to the fans from my point of view. It isn't always nice to hear. I've always prided myself on my time here of being really honest, at times too honest, and I'll never dress stuff up a particular way. I just think we need to be really clear on where we fall in the division around budgets and around where we should, and the aim for us has got to be in those playoffs. And if we fail to be in the playoffs, I will take that as a failure, and I will feel like I've fallen short, and therefore I will feel like the group has. I think we had a talented group that has had opportunities this season to put points on the board that I don't think it's as simple as today was a must-win game. We've lost. We've come out on the wrong side. It was a must-win game for Alfreton against the side with real experience, with some real quality. Look at the forward players they're bringing off the bench to bring on and improve them. But the position that we're in is over 43 games, not over the last 16, and certainly not over the last sort of 3 or 4. But it's been really frustrating that the theme in the home games has been we haven't scored. We haven't scored the goals. And that will hurt. So yeah, there'll be conversations, and I will have an opinion on a way to do things and a way to improve things. Really respectfully, I'm not sure if that's for now, and that isn't me trying to shut that down. I think that's important that we find a way to do everything we can better, and that is find a way to spend more money, find a way on the pitch within that budget to improve at home, because we've improved the team at home this season points wise, but not to the level where I still think we're going to fall 7 to 10 points short of what we should be putting on at home. We shouldn't be relying on what has been an average away performance. Shouldn't have relied last season on what we did away from home with those points, and we need to look at why and how we do that. So I think there's a lot of reasons. There will be a lot of criticism should we fall out of the playoffs. Totally understand that, and I've always tried to take that on the chin for the players and the club. The focus has got to be on the next 3 games, getting those points. It looks like it's going to be an extremely high points target. I'm looking at the teams at the top end of the playoffs, and they aren't going to get the points that we got last year.
And teams are playing each other.
Yeah, and we've got to have a real focus that we need to go and get 9 points. That 9 points might be enough, might not be enough. And that's where the focus needs to be. So I just wanted to be fair and come out, and I didn't want to insult people's intelligence by going, well, we'll just move on to the next game. I thought it was really important we address some of of what you've asked me, but at the end of this interview, gentlemen, it is about getting back to work and going to Gloucester and seeing where 3 points takes us. And then after that, it'll be about going to Brackley. Yeah. I'll be honest, looking forward to 2 away games and seeing where that takes us, and then what situation and scenario will we be in on the last day of the season against Darlington. It's a disappointing position for us that I feel like has been done of our own doing, but not today exclusively. That's where the focus needs to be. So we have to take that on the chin. I have to take that on the chin particularly. I don't want it to come across as it's done, because it isn't done. But what it isn't is in our control any longer, and we're going to be relying on results to go our way. You say about teams playing each other.
As you're playing Brackley, for example.
Absolutely, and our focus needs to be, and the players have got to feel that and got to understand that the attitude and appetite needs to be to win those 3 games that was there on Friday, that was there today with no quality. That's the reality. There's an effort and an application, but not enough to win the game. So we've got to get ready for those 3 games, and that's where the focus needs to be. And every question you've asked is fair, and I'm sure it'll be supporters will ask questions and want to know why is it, and everyone will have an opinion. Totally understandable. It's the nature of this game, and probably where this club is unique, with the exception of a handful at this level. So the focus in the short term is those 3 games and trying to put those points on. The focus in the longer term is to reflect on the season and those facts that I've talked about around we've got to be better at home, because we're saying it this season in the calendar year. I thought we started the season really well at home. We weren't last year, and then you look at the points return the season before, and that's a theme, and that needs breaking one way or another, and that needs looking at absolutely.
Callum, thanks for talking to us.
Thanks, man.